Hello everyone and welcome back to the Bond Armory. I'm Ray Crumpled and today we're going to be taking a look at James Bond's rifle from No Time to Die, the Mark 18 Mod 0. So, the Mark 18 Mod 0. This is my personal rifle. Of course, it's already been safety checked. Magazine is empty. Chamber as well. We're good to go. Let's talk about the Mark 18. So, interestingly enough, the Mark 18 doesn't actually refer to the whole rifle when it was originally introduced by the US Navy, or developed by the US Navy. It actually only refers to the upper receiver. See, the Navy developed it because they wanted the smallest possible rifle barrel length that still functioned. You know, they're boarding ships, they're in the hulls, there's lots of tight corners and things like that. Shortest possible platform while still getting the most out of the 5.56 round. That was the goal of the Navy. And they accomplished that through testing and figured out that the shortest length barrel they could use was a 10.3 inch barrel. Such an odd number, but that's what they came up with. Most of the replicas that you see people building now, including mine, are either a 10.5 inch barrel or they have them custom cut down and then rethreaded to be the exact size. Now, I didn't want to go through all that. I just took a 10.5. It's not that big of a difference to me. I'm also not, going into hulls of ships and looking for terrorists or anything. This is a home defense gun, a plink gun, and it's a lot of fun. Where does this come in No Time to Die? If you haven't seen it already, get out there and see it before it leaves theaters because it's an experience, and definitely if you have the option, see it in IMAX. But I'm about to give a big spoiler away. The climax of the film, Bond is infiltrating Safin's lair and he is armed with the Mark 18 Mod 0. You've seen it in the promo shots and of course in the film. And my favorite scene, so good, during the climax, something that I actually had hoped Cary Fukunaga was actually going to include, especially if you've seen True Detective. There's one particular scene that's a one take, meaning the camera never cuts, or if it does, it's very cleverly hidden so it looks like one fluid shot. It's such a tense moment in True Detective. Right off the bat, when I found out that he was going to be the director of No Time to Die, I had my fingers crossed he was going to include that type of scene, and sure enough he did. I'm talking, of course, about the stairway battle. So badass. I mean, grenades are going off, he's taking cover, hand-to-hand combat, CQC, which is exactly what this rifle was designed for, close quarter battles, pistol, everything is in this scene, and it's so tense, amazingly shot. Love that scene. Definitely my favorite next to the opening with the DB5. Super cool. With that in mind, I did notice that Bond's particular rifle has some, to put it politely, discrepancies. So originally my build for the Mark 18 was going to be an exact clone, but because of those things that I took issue with, I decided to go my own route and make it a little bit more practical to what I need it for, which is the great thing about the AR and M4 platform. The M4 platform is what Bond would have been using. It's the military version. The AR is the civilian version. Looks the same, but only shoots semi-automatic, meaning one trigger pull, one bullet. So the faster you squeeze, the faster you could shoot. Not like the M4 where you can hold it down and it's either going to be a burst or a full auto. So with that in mind, we're going to start from top to bottom and go over each part that Bond has on his gun and what I went with on my rifle. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so let's take a look at our Mark 18s. So starting from the top, the muzzle at the top, on Bond's, you can see he has a suppressor. Now I've talked to a lot of experts and I've done my own research. That particular suppressor slash silencer, whatever you want to call it, does not exist. That is a prop. It's completely manufactured for the film. It's not a real thing. On mine I have, I think this is called a G39. I honestly don't even remember. It's kind of similar to a War Comp, but I do actually have a Silencer Co. Muzzle that I want to put on here that features kind of like a quick release for a suppressor because it is on my list of things to do. I have yet to own a suppressor. Unfortunately, it's about $200 just for a tax stamp plus the year-long wait. A lot of paperwork on top of the cost of the suppressor. So usually it's anywhere between like $8,000 and $15,000 to $2,000 for a suppressor. So it's on my bucket list. Or yeah, We'll go with that. Yeah, so that's the muzzle. Working our way down, we've already discussed the barrel. I have a 10.5. Bond's is using a 10.3 inch. Then we have your A2 style front sight. Now this is pretty standard for older ARs, or M4s I should say. It has a built-in gas block. And then coming down, we have on both of our rifles a Knight's Armament RIS. That's your rail. Features Picatinny style rail system that you can attach different accessories and things to. If you notice, this is the first point where we have a major discrepancy between Bond's AR or Bond's M4 and my AR. I have a Surefire Scout flashlight on mine. Bond has offset Magpul Pro iron sights. Why don't I have those? Like I said, I found discrepancies. The way that Bond has that set up, it's all the way down on his rail. Now, when you think about it, if you were looking down your sights, the reason that you have offset sights is so that if, say, your red dot sight, the battery's crapped out on you, it broke, whatever, you just cant the gun to the side and then you'd have a line of sight with irons. The problem is his iron sights are set way down here. Now, if you can look, this is my rear sight. This is a backup sight back here. You could see that tiny little hole, really tiny, tiny hole right there. Now, let's see, that sight is probably, I don't know, 4 inches from my camera. Now watch what happens when I back up. Okay, I've moved about 3 more inches, so we're about 7 inches from the camera. Can you see that hole? Now think about this. Through that hole, another about 5-6 inches, so back here now is, I'm going to point this out, yeah. If you look right here, there's that post in the center. Imagine from that far away, a good 12 inches or so, maybe a little bit more than 12 inches, trying to look through that dot and try to find that post from down here. It's impossible. So normally if you're going to have iron sights, you're going to have them up here on your upper so that you can tilt and it's right in your line of vision. Having it way down here doesn't make sense. You're not going to be able to actually see through that, that aperture to get your post to be able to fire on your target. So I decided not to invest $100 and some odd per sight to do that for something completely useless. I went with something I am going to use, that is the Scout flashlight with a pressure pad on top, which is excellent. It has temporary on and off just by pushing it with my thumb, move my thumb forward, and then I have a permanent on. Okay, so moving back from that, talk about your optics. I have a red dot on here. This is an EOTech 556. It's close to what Bond uses. The reason I couldn't find the exact EOTech that Bond uses in the film is because his is an airsoft prop. If you look really closely, on EOTechs, they have these round cutouts where you have your windage and your elevation. On Bond's, it's more of a teardrop shape. That is a dead giveaway that it's an airsoft toy or a replica. So I went with the real steel. This one became available, so I picked it up, and I love it. This thing's fantastic. Back from there, Bond does not have a backup rear sight, which I kind of have a problem with. Again, he has the two up here, the offsets, but if you have a front post, why not have a backup? If your battery dies, all you have to do is throw your thumb, and now you have an iron sight ready to go, and it's, I can't think of the word. It's co-witnessed, yeah. To be able to see through your rear sight, through your red dot, and still pick up that front post, so you're still on target. Bond doesn't have that. Now, a couple people pointed this out to me regarding this front post and the red dot sight. They were saying, oh, why does he have that without the rear backup? That's a really good question. What I did find out through some military shooters as well as some professional shooters, some people actually prefer this, and if they don't have an A2 style, they'll actually have a front flip-up sight already up. The reason being, when you're looking through your red dot, sometimes you have to kind of maneuver it around to pick up the reticle. They have it tuned in with that front sight, so it's kind of a index type thing. So if they could pick up the front sight, they instantly know where their red dot's going to be. In case they lose it, they know just to bring it up a little bit, get that front post center in your glass, and you'll be able to pick up your reticle. So it's unknown what kind of charging handle Bond has. We're going to assume his is actually just, you know, some mil spec, you know, regular old thing. I have a BCM gunfighter. BCM's a really great brand. Upper receiver, lower receiver on Bonds is probably a Colt. That's who manufactured the Mark 18s originally. Mine, like I said, is kind of a Franken build. I have my Bond Armory lower receiver, which is an Arrow, excuse me, Arrow Precision lower. The upper, I think, might have been like an Anderson. It's nothing special, it's just mil spec. Basically all that standard. My rear flip-up sight, again, is Knight's Armament, same as the rail. My rail looks a little bit different because I left one of the panel covers on there just because I'm right-handed. So when I grab, I like to, you know, I don't want to cheat right around this side when you're firing. The recoil in your hand kind of slides a little bit. This is very sharp metal, so I left one of the panels on for that reason. Also, one of the things that Bond doesn't have that I do have is a front grip. Bond just uses his standard and he grabs at the magazine well. And this is an acceptable hold. It's not ideal. A lot of people are into the C-clamp or like this. For me, I have a C-clamp back here. And I like to use the front grip. It's just kind of like a hand stop. I really don't shoot like this. I shoot like this. Moving back from that, again, this is a short barrel, not this, but Bond's is a short barreled rifle. Anything under 16 inches barrel length on a rifle is considered a short barrel through the ATF. Again, mine is 10.5 inches. I have a brace on mine. This brace makes it a pistol, but my classification for this is not a pistol. This is actually a firearm because I have the front grip. It's a long story. It's a legal thing. This is a firearm. It's not a pistol. But for that reason, I don't want to have an SBR, so I have a SB Tactical Brace on here. It kind of has the same aesthetic. It's a little bit thicker and bulkier, but it does the trick. Internals, I'm sure Bond just has, you know, your generic mil spec. On here, I think I have a CMMG with a 6-pound trigger pull. Bond is also using the gray Colt magazines. Now, the current manufacturer for the Mark 18s is Daniel Defense. So I have a Daniel Defense grip on here. One of the things that I noticed on Bonds that was a little strange, and I think I have a theory about this. Back here, this little piece, this is your nut, your castle nut. The castle nut is what holds your buffer tube in place. Now on Bonds, you'll notice it's very, very thick. It's probably 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. The standards are about, I'd call that like 1/4 of an inch, maybe a little bit more. Now, the only manufacturer that makes one like that, that oversized castle nut, is H&K, and it's kind of exclusive to their H&K 418. So I kind of have a theory that the Mark 18 itself could have been left over from Skyfall, where we see Moneypenny, you know, take the shot, take the shot. That little rifle that she has is a Colt Commando, which is one of the predecessors to the Mark 18. Then, in Skyfall, we see Bond with the H&K 418 during the big shootout at the Skyfall Lodge, or mansion, estate, whatever you want to call it. So is it possible that they just kind of mixed and matched parts from the different Bond films to come up with his rifle from No Time to Die? I think that's a distinct possibility. Another thing that I don't have that he has is a magazine coupler. He has 2 magazines that are attached to each other. There's a couple different manufacturers that make those. My guess is that he's using the Magpul Mag Links. They're fantastic. Magpul makes great products. Other than that, I would say, trying to think if there's any other differences between mine and his. We both have the quick detach sling in the back here. That was another addition that he had on his rifle. That's for a sling, attaches here. Anytime you want to get rid of it, you just push that button. It comes right off. You can detach your rifle. But I think that's about it as far as his weapon and mine. Like I said, it's a very modular system. It's very user-friendly. It's so much fun to shoot. And you can accessorize these to whatever your needs are. Like I said, this is my home defense gun, or one of. And I love it. It works great, shoots great, it's accurate as all heck. Having a dialed in red dot really helps too, so why don't we shoot it? We're going to do a little bit of indoor and, oh, well, I should say a lot of indoor and a little bit of outdoor. And I will admit, I am not really a rifle guy. I love shooting pistols a whole lot more than rifles, but this is a lot of fun. So I'm not as accurate with this as far as, you know, getting a nice grouping. But at the same time, you know, get it on target. That's all that really matters. So let's go to the range and shoot this guy. All right, so as per usual, we are at Free State Gun Range. Today, shooting the Mark 18 Mod 0, and we have our target set out to about 15 yards. Now I chose 15 yards because this is a close quarter combat / close quarter battle weapon. Now generally for shooting pistol length rifles, you get a lot of recoil. I didn't find that to be the case with the Mark 18. I really don't think it has much to do with the particular muzzle brake that I have on this one, that G36, but it did the trick. Now I am going to shoot a little bit more rapid, maybe even a couple double taps. But the gun still stays on target. And I put that up to the C-clamp grip. So you have your hand extended that far out, you're actually controlling the muzzle a whole lot more than if you would the way Bond holds it in No Time to Die, gripping at the mag well. Shooting this rifle is so much fun, I just burned right through that ammo. So let's bring the target in and see how we did. Alright, like I said, it wasn't going to be too tight of a grouping, but all of our shots are within the 9 ring and bullseye. Alright, now we are at my buddy the Tactical Redneck's ranch, shooting at a piece of 24-inch by 24-inch steel at 100 yards from the standing position using only the red dot. Now keep in mind, this rifle is made for close quarters. Now we're reaching out to a football field. Now shooting outdoors is so much more fun than shooting indoors. I have to admit, it's way over the top. Having that feedback when you hit the steel target, that little tink, just makes it so much more fun than shooting at paper. Now I'm about 50-50 with my shots on this target. This, like I said, my gun, the rifle, was set in at 25 yards. Now we're 4 times that distance, shooting at a football field away. So I'm not too disappointed, and it was so much fun to do, I didn't even mind missing that much. And of course, the more I do it, the more proficient I'll get at it. Soon, I'll have it to 100%. So there we have it, the Mark 18 Mod 0. I was incredibly happy to see Bond using one of these on his mission in No Time to Die. I think it was the perfect choice for him, and I think it's the perfect choice for you as well. I highly recommend you pick one of these up. Again, the current manufacturer is Daniel Defense, or you can do what I did and just scratch build. Start with a strip lower receiver and an upper receiver, and just put any of the parts that you want in there. Make it practical to your mission. Again, discrepancies aside from Bond's choice of accessories, you can really do so much with these and make it personal, make it your own for what you need it for. I think that's all we have. So, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time on the Bond Armory.